Hi, everybody. Welcome to the quarantine film series. I'm your host, Kabir Segal, coming to you live from the ATL in Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Thanks for watching downstairs. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Always great to have you. So the quarantine series is really an initiative to put the spotlight on creative people of all types, filmmakers, musicians, authors. These are the people that create the stories, content that entertains and provokes and even challenges us throughout the year. So if you can, please support the projects we learn about on this broadcast. And let's think local too. Support the local filmmakers, local film festivals, local bookshop, whatever it is, artists and audiences. We need each other, don't we? Especially during this time of international pandemic. So a couple things. First, if you want to learn who will be on the show and where we're broadcasting, to subscribe to my social media. We're available pretty much on all platforms. And also let us know where you're watching from. We've got the West Coast in the house today, San Francisco. We've got Atlanta in the house, we've got the South. So let us know where you're watching from. I always get really excited with all the international viewers, everyone in Malaysia and South Africa. Let us know, drop a comment to let us know where you're watching from, no matter if you're watching live or on the rebroadcast. And if you have a question, I don't have to ask all the questions. You can ask questions too. So let us know, again, if you're watching live or on the rebroadcast, just drop a comment and we will try to opine to what's on your mind. All right, now for the best part of the show, we get to meet the remarkable artist. Wow, that was like really good production right there, right in there, Shane. So live from San Francisco, and a terrific filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker, a virtual reality content creator. This is the first on our show. I'm excited to talk about how she's filming, what she's filming. Her recent film, Tale of the Tibetan Nomad, premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. And so she's doing things obviously at the highest level. We'll also talk about her film, Marie Antoinette, VR, presented at the Cannes Film Festival. So really working at the vanguard of technology and cinema. Please welcome to the show the maestro herself, Carol Liu. Welcome.
Hi, Kabir. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. It's great to meet you. It's been great to be in touch with you the last few days. I want to ask you first, how are you doing during this time of quarantine? How has it affected you? How has it affected some of your projects?
Yeah, it's I had a really lovely walk today in San Francisco. I feel so grateful to live in such a beautiful city, and for me, going through quarantine, I've just been trying every weekend to make sure I have some time with nature. I find it really helps me a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it's talk to me about how has it affected some of your projects, because I know you had some projects that were premiering and in different stages. Has it been very productive in this quarantine time? What is your day-to-day like?
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I was sort of planning this year to have a period of several months of just intensive writing and screenwriting and script development. So thankfully, COVID hasn't disrupted that part because I can just stay home and work on those scripts. But certainly up until March, I was traveling. It was a stretch of 3 months. I was just home. Maybe I think I slept in my own bed maybe 1 or 2 nights out of almost like 3 weeks. I'd be on the road, come home for like 1 or 2 nights, and then go again, back to Asia. And so that was really busy. And now it's obviously not happening. Productions are. I think I'm still pretty lucky though, because I had this time where I wanted to dedicate to a lot of the writing, and it's kind of coincided very well in that way.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it has. I want to ask about VR films. I'm fascinated by them. Tell me a little bit about how you got into it and how you sort of got up to speed on the technology of producing these types of films.
Yeah, so I was living in China for about 5.5 years, working on co-productions, and when I moved back, I chose to come back to San Francisco, where I have a good network of friends, people from college, and somehow just got pulled into all of the VR technology that was coming out, and I was selected for, I wanted to learn more about VR because I experienced the VR and I knew that I just feel like we're at the beginning of this technology. It's kind of like the great train robbery days of film and cinema. It took really until maybe late 19 teens to early 20s before we really figured out how to use cinema to tell stories. We came up with the kind of cinematic language of having actors and dialogue and music, and it all kind of evolved over a long period of time, because if you think about it, you already had the Lumiere brothers at the 1890s, so film already existed. And I feel like VR is kind of living in that time right now. So, when I first put on my, first set of goggles and watched VR, I was just amazed just at how transporting it was and how immersive it was. And, as a filmmaker or storyteller, I really just want to be able to impart an experience to the audience, have them feel exactly kind of, what I'm experiencing, and to recreate that as realistically as possible. And I think VR lends itself really well to that. You can literally take people into these spaces and environments and engage more of their senses than you would in a 2D medium. So, all of that just got me really excited about VR. And as I started to consume more content, I realized that a lot of the people coming to VR came from more technical backgrounds. And the people coming at it from film, still treated VR as film. And I knew that VR was a different medium altogether. So I wanted to understand it better. And that's when I applied and was selected for some of these early pilot programs that Google put together, like the Jumpstart program, Oculus Launchpad, which is still running. And these are sort of kind of boot camps to train people, train creators to create more content for their devices. So, that was a really great learning experience, and kind of got me into this kind of ecosystem of people who were interested in exploring VR, and also, interacting with people who were really pioneering and at the forefront of thinking about VR in terms of storytelling.
God, I appreciate that backstory. Really helpful. And it's such an immersive type of technology and way of telling a story. Let's talk about Tale of the Tibetan Nomad. What is that story about, and what did it take to make that happen?
Yeah, it was a UC Berkeley commission, actually. I got to work together with Stan Lai, who is an amazing playwright in working throughout the world. He has an epic 8-hour play called A Dream Like a Dream. And we at Berkeley, they really wanted to, Stan was an artist in residence. They really wanted to combine VR technology. And so they sort of invited me to join, and we tried to figure out a way to adapt his existing play and create something entirely new in VR. So the concept of Tale of the Tibetan Nomad is that this nomad is living an alternate reality that helps him appreciate his actual life. And it's so actually, it's like the timing of this project, it really aligns well with COVID, because I feel like this whole year we've been living this alternate reality. But the idea of Tale of the Tibetan Nomad is that you're taken into this world, and we try to use different technological devices and experiences to, for example, the dream world is in stereoscopic 3D. The quote real world, the frame world, is monoscopic. We tried to play with that technology to allow you to have a different experience in the dream world versus the frame world. And I think the results were quite satisfying. We got to work with a real Tibetan nomad. We used a lot of original music, a lot of crafts from Tibet. A lot of the arts and crafts that we feature in the film are very authentic to the people and the time. And we were able to premiere at Tribeca Film Festival earlier this year. Even though it was COVID, we had a virtual premiere, which ended up being really great because I think almost 43,000 people tuned into the whole VR program. It was about 12 films that were selected. And in normal days, a VR film festival, maybe 40 people will line up and see your VR project. So that was an incredible win, I think.
Certainly so. I do want to ask, what did the subjects or participants this particular, the Nomad himself. What did they think about their portrayal and the immersiveness of the technology? Did they see it, and what was their feedback?
Yeah, I think there is something magical about 3D VR, and I'm a huge proponent of cinematic VR for storytelling. There's a lot of animated pieces in VR, but I really want to explore cinematic VR storytelling more. And a lot of the feedback has been like, wow, this is just, it's you know, they feel like they're somewhere else, you know, and they've been so transported. And several people have followed up. They are now also creating VR after having experienced Tale of the Tibetan Nomad. And they're just like blown away by just how visceral that experience was for them. So yeah, that's some of the feedback on that project. And you know, I think the quote analog approach that we go for, you know, we recreated this yurt. We really try to make that experience very authentic to life. I think that's also something that people comment on.
Got it. What is the preferred technology you recommend for people to see VR at home?
Well, I think the Oculus initially was the Oculus Rift, but now the Quest I think is a really good device to use for, you know, as a headset to watch VR with. And you know, I mean, there are many companies creating different headsets, but I think Oculus is really invested in seeing through VR as a technology. So I guess I would recommend the Oculus for people who are interested in a headset.
So what you're saying is I need an upgrade here. This is an Advent desk tech that someone got me a while ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, VR changes so quickly. So I mean, my advice is probably going to not apply just in a few months.
I can say, Shane, we're definitely not presenting in VR tonight, but that's something we need to look at. Well, let's talk about Marie Antoinette. This is a terrific story. We all know the story of Marie Antoinette. Why did you want to make a VR film about her?
So, you know, and speaking of things, you know, of technology, making sure that it's up to date, you know, Marie Antoinette, when we finished that, I mean, it's also in 3D stereoscopic VR. We shot on the Google Odyssey, and, you know, that technology is already, changing. But we have the 8K. Anyway, but I chose that topic because I've been finding it super interesting. It was during the time of Me Too, and looking at the history of women, you know, women leaders, how they're portrayed, and realizing that, you know, really there's so much more to the story of any, you know, what we know of Marie Antoinette is completely based on rumors and based on, you know, these fake news stories at the time, which is also something incredibly relevant today. I mean, we're always talking about this. But she has been remembered as this woman who said, let them eat cake, who was very frivolous and wasted all this money, apparently, you know, bankrupted the Navy to purchase this diamond necklace. But all of these are simply myths about Marie Antoinette. And I was really fascinated reading the history, trying to figure out, you know, why she was scapegoated. You know, how come the whole French Revolution sort of got pinned on her? And unfortunately, it is a pattern you see through history. And I wanted to tackle her as a subject because she's so iconic and everyone knows about her, but everything they know about her is incorrect. So it's just a fascinating mystery in a way for me to kind of unravel the true story of this woman. And she was very, I mean, she was very fashionable. She had a great sense of style, and that has definitely influenced people through the ages. But a lot of the other things we know about her are totally incorrect.
How can people see this film right now?
It was available as an experience on the Samsung VR store, which recently folded. But we are in the process of migrating to Oculus, and hopefully we can make that available again soon.
Got it. It looks beautiful. Were there any? I mean, thinking from the VR perspective, is there anything? How did you want to capture it and to show the architecture? Because we're all familiar with, or a lot of us are familiar with architecture. How did you think about it? I mean, the angle. Talk about the angles and almost the geometry of the shots to get all this stuff in. I'm looking at this stuff and I'm quite mesmerized.
Yeah, well, the idea was to take people back in time, back in history, as though you're a participant in, the all of the drama leading up to the French Revolution, and that, Marie Antoinette would be speaking to you and taking you through kind of her story, showing you kind of what was the truth versus what was fabricated. And yeah, we did get to shoot in a Royal Chateau in France, and so a lot of these environments are true to the time. Louis XIV is in that painting, in that image right there. And yes, architecture figures really prominently in VR. It really is about taking people into different spaces and having that environment affect you, much as it does in real life. When you walk into a different type of space, you feel a different way. So there's a lot more of that visceral experience.
Yeah, it seems like it. What is the? Let's talk about Left for Women. But before we get to that, what was the audience response? The initial audience response to seeing this film? Do they mesh with what you wanted? This new understanding of Marie Antoinette?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people were surprised to learn that a lot of these rumors about her were untrue, obviously. And I think a lot of people wanted to see just more. They wanted to experience more of her story, because what we had prepared was a demo of 3 select moments from her life. So I think there is a demand for it, and we are trying to figure out how to best distribute this experience more widely. We're developing like a follow-on piece that we hope we can collaborate with the Palace of Versailles on. So a lot of that is still in development. VR, the challenge is always distribution and getting more people to watch it. So the people who have managed to watch it, either on Samsung or at Cannes Film Festival, they have responded really positively to it. So yeah.
Got it. Very cool. And tell me finally about Left for Women, about this project, why you wanted to create it in the first place.
Okay, yes. So that's actually, that's a working title. It's a TV pilot that I'm developing set in the Bay Area. And it's about a group of women in their 30s and 40s who are sort of reevaluating their lives. I would say it's sort of like a mix of Eat, Pray, Love and meets Silicon Valley. So it's kind of set in this world, but it's really about how these women are learning how to value themselves, and it's kind of a journey of self-love and self-care, which I think is something women are often conditioned not to prioritize in their own lives.
What's the timeline for it, do you think?
Oh, well, it's in development right now. So we're going through creating the treatment Bible, the TV pilot script. Yeah. So
Got it. Definitely work in progress. So, for those who are new to the VR world, what are like the must-sees in this space? Like maybe people you admire or films that you admire. Is there sort of like a landmark film or landmark films that you suggest that people check out?
Yeah, the technology is changing so quickly, but I often steer people back to watching the works of Felix and Paul. I really love what they've done. They've really pioneered the idea of using cinematic VR to tell stories, documentaries, fiction pieces, and I think their work is more widely accessible. So if people are interested in cinematic VR, that's always a great one to check out. I also really enjoyed, this is a few years back, so I mean, again, things are changing all the time, but I really enjoyed also the Mr. Robot VR piece that was created a few years ago, and I often cite it in my lectures about VR. I think I just love the way that they use the camera. They move the camera through the space, and you really allow that camera to take on a life of its own in a 360 environment, which is very hard to do in a graceful way. And finally, there's a lot of new pieces that are being made using volumetric technology and photogrammetry, and some of those, I think, yeah, we're seeing the technology in real time get better and better. So right now there's sometimes an uncanny valley effect where things don't look that realistic, and it just kind of pulls you out of the experience. But I do think people are trying. There's certain experiences like Hold the World VR with David Attenborough, where they scanned him and placed him at the national, I think it's the National Gallery, or in a specific space in London. And you get to actually pull open these different drawers, handle artifacts, and he talks to you. So it's like a little sample of what technology could become, the VR storytelling technology could become, even though that one's not particularly, it's not like a fiction piece or anything.
Got it. And you run your own production studio, Yuma Studios. What are the types of projects? What's your aesthetic for your production studio?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm drawn to stories about marginalized figures. Bringing to light, stories that have been misrepresented or untold or unseen, often about women, about minorities, and just trying to bring more attention and awareness to these stories that we haven't heard or seen in the mainstream.
Awesome. Thanks for raising the bar with all your projects. It's great to see and great to meet you. Please follow Carol on Facebook and Instagram. There it is, Carol Liu Films. And thanks so much for being on the show, Carol.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, that's our broadcast for today. If you'd like to learn who'll be on the broadcast, please subscribe to my social media. Make sure to take care of the art. It'll always take care of you. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.